Hello duckies, and welcome back to a brand new Sims 4 video. Today we're working on a ramshackle cottage, and I started this cottage in Henford-on-Bagley, but I decided to move it. I think it's still technically in Henford-on-Bagley, but I started it in Finchwick, and I decided to move it to where the converted barn lot is, just because I think that it fit with the scenery there better. So here I'm just mapping out the shape of the cottage. I wanted to have a really unique roof shape. I kept messing with that dormer for quite a while, trying to get it to be the right color. I had trouble with that. This cottage, I had a lot of fun with. It is another like kind of Queen Anne style cottage, but I did the landscaping quite differently than how I usually do it. I really have been trying to play with textures and different colors lately. So I used that stone, and then I also used the wood siding to give the cottage multiple different textures on the outside. I really wanted to use that awning. I think I don't remember if I kept it or if I eventually took it off. But this part that I'm building here with the 3 windows, I wanted it to be, I wanted this house to be kind of an abandoned carriage house that had been converted, because I've seen quite a few of those on Pinterest and in different places that I just was really inspired by that. So I tried to kind of create that with pillars and windows, and then that arch from Jungle Adventure. I think it turned out pretty good. You guys will have to let me know in the comments what you think. What's funny is I eventually moved this and put it on a hill, so it with a lake in front of it. So it kind of ended up looking kind of funny that it had the abandoned carriage house look to it, but I decided to leave it because I was like, who cares, you know? Like maybe the lake formed after it was a carriage house or something. Like maybe it's a man-made lake. I don't know. I don't know the story of this house. Anyway, so that's my reasoning for it, and I thought it made sense. I kept trying to get the lighting to look right. I think I eventually gave up. So this is where I put it up on a hill in that space, that converted barn area. So here I am building a lake, and one of the things that I'm doing, that I do when I build lakes, that I've kind of been playing since obviously we just got the pond tool not very long ago, but I've been using terrain manipulation stuff for quite a long time, so I've just kind of used some of those skills to make the ponds. One of the things that I do is I kind of get the ground down to where I want it, and then I use the flatten terrain tool, and it will make it all the same height. And then also I've been using the water depth map to see exactly where the water comes up to, and then kind of soften the ground to where I want it to be after I get that information from it. I do that quite a lot. It works both when you're building hills and putting steps into hills, as well as you know, doing the pond tool, which everybody is doing because we finally got it. It's been cool to have areas that are not surrounded by rocks trying to cover the edge of a pool. It's just the best feeling. I really wanted to have a picnic table out there, that stone picnic table from Romantic Garden stuff. I think it turned out good. I used terrain paint instead of floor tiles to make that area look paved, because if you try to put floor tiles on a hillside, it won't let you. So it will just make it all flat, which I did not want. So here I am doing the landscaping, and I kind of was inspired to do a kind of swamp type cottage. So I was inspired to do that by Aria FAYT. I will put a link to her swamp cottage in the description. So here I am just trying to make some little areas that I can landscape more effectively, because a lot of different rocks and plants and stuff will not stick to the hillside, and I don't like it when my plants are just like hovering. It really bothers me. I like them to be nice and stuck into the hillside, so that's what I'm doing here, is trying to create that. I also use the tool mod with this build, which, if you don't know, the tool mod is not something you have to have in order to use the build. It does not register as CC on the gallery or anything. All that it does is it allows you to move things in a more precise way. So it just allows you to move things up or down, or scale up or down in a more, what's the word? A more precise way is a better way to put it. So you can get, instead of, because if anybody's trying to move up or down an object, you only get a couple jumps. So when you use tool, it makes those jumps smaller, is the best way to describe it. But you don't need the tool mod to download and play in this little cottage, and it doesn't register as CC, like I said. So I haven't used it all that much, but I did use it quite a bit on this build. I think I cut out using tool just because I used it a lot and it got kind of repetitive and boring. But yeah, I did use it. So you can see the mushrooms are in the ground now, because I wanted them to look like they were growing out of the ground instead of sitting on top of it. So that's why I did that. So here, and this is another little thing that I picked up recently, of using different shades of green to make things look more natural, because when you go outside, the plants are all different shades of green. So I've been trying to do that too, and like make things look more natural. That's one of my favorite things to do in builds, is to try to make things look as natural as I possibly can. I love it when it looks like it just grew that way, instead of, you know, being a highly curated Sims build. So here I'm putting in some trees. I really wanted to get these trees to stick. I tried a bunch of different ways. I think I eventually found some that worked. And I used that kind of shelf technique where I flattened out terrain against the hill to give it, to make it look kind of layered. So here I'm putting just some ivy on, and the wisteria. I love the wisteria that came with Cottage Living. I love it so much. It's so pretty. It makes me just so happy to use it. So here I'm putting in some roses. Part of why I put those there too is because they look kind of funny. That lighting from in the carriage house area can look kind of weird, so I was kind of putting the roses there to hide that. And I used the tool mod just to get those positioned where I wanted them. And here I'm just putting in some grass, and if you've watched a good bit of my builds, you probably know I love to put grass like everywhere. There's even builds where every inch, like every tiny space of ground, is covered in grass. So here we are working on the interior, and I started with the dining table. I figured out the floor plan off camera because it takes me a really long time to figure out floor plans, and I didn't think you would probably want to watch that because it gets very boring and repetitive and not fun. So that is why there was already like some stuff there. So I just made like a cute little seating area in front of the fireplace. I love the new fireplaces we got with Cottage Living too, and the chairs. Oh my gosh. This is one of my new favorite things, is just to put candles everywhere. And this is an off-the-grid cottage, so everything in this cottage works off the grid without having to get like either wind or solar power. Everything works. I really wanted to do that because it's a ramshackle cottage. Like, you probably wouldn't have electricity. So I used a lot of different methods of lighting, mostly candles and things like that, for the off the grid part of this. And there I am using tool just to get that candlestick where I want it. I have the little cross stitch basket and the knitting basket on either side there. I just thought that was such a cute little touch. You could just sit by the fire and knit or do your cross stitch. Those flowers that I'm putting around the poles are from Island Living, and I love them. They're one of those items that I forget exists, and then when I remember, I'm like, oh my gosh, why do I not use these all the time? They're amazing. I love them. So here I'm doing putting the candlestick up on there, because that's another thing when you're doing your houses. If you put lights up high, you get the most light out of them in The Sims. So that's why I try to put things up on shelves and stuff to kind of get that height. I was trying to go with like a pink and green feel for this kitchen, and I used the Cottage Living little kitchen stuff and that little oil lamp. I love that oil lamp. It's base game, but every time I do a cottage, there's always oil lamps in it because it's just adorable and I love it. And that little, I think that's from Eco Lifestyle, the little basket. Here I'm just putting some things on top of the fridge, or actually it's the ice box, because it's a completely off the grid build. I'm very proud because it took me quite a bit to get to make sure that everything worked off the grid too. So here I'm just trying to put the little knitting journal on there so that you can keep track of your stitches while you're making stuff. And just some little bits and bobs to add to the kitchen to make it look a little bit more lived in. Some tea canisters and things, some more candles. So I really wanted this to be playable, because one of the problems that I've had with off the grid is that it will be too dark to see what I'm doing. So I tried to make sure that there were plenty of candles so that you can see what you're trying to do when you are playing. And then I'm just putting a few little bits and bobs by the front door, some shoes, a little basket. Here's a little canister set for the shelving unit. I tried to turn those in different directions so they would look like they're different. I also used a different swatch for the second one, so that's part of that too. And then here is the bathroom. It's just a simple little bathroom with a toilet and a shower in it. I don't remember if I put a sink. Oh, I did put a sink. And here we have just the medicine cabinet and a nice little rug for your feet when you get out. I'm not sure about the placement of the lights in this bathroom. I did the best I could with what I had. So here we are in the bedroom, and I used that little dresser from the Cottage Living pack and that super cute bed that comes with cats and dogs. I probably overused that item because it's just so cute with the quilt. I wish we had more like quilted beds in this game, but I love that one. So here I'm putting in some books and a little shoe rack. And I think we're about done. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!